Imagine a world where nobody remembers you exist. Your best friend walks right past you at the store. The love of your life smiles at you the way she smiles at strangers, polite, warm, and completely empty. And every night, you put on a mask and protect a city that cheers your name without ever knowing your face. Now imagine living like that for 4 straight years. That's where Brand New Day finds Peter Parker, and I promise you, this movie is hiding a secret that changes everything you think you're watching. Because the villain you see is not the villain you get. Quick disclaimer before we swing in. Every opinion, roast, and hot take in this video is mine alone. We're all friends here. And if you love deep dives like this, do yourself a favor and subscribe. Join the family, because the algorithm is a cruel machine, and we might genuinely never cross paths again. Alright, let's start at the loneliest apartment in New York. 4 years of silence. The film opens 9 months after the memory spell, then jumps 4 years ahead, and this Peter is someone we've never seen before. No Stark tech, no billionaire mentor, no friends. He builds everything himself in a rooftop workshop, his gadgets, his suits, even an AI assistant named Evie, which the director described as the closest thing Peter's had to a friend in years. Let that sentence hurt for a second. His only friend is software he coded himself. And look, I have to say it, this is exactly the Spider-Man I've been waiting for. No more teary Mr. Stark moments, no more billion-dollar training wheels. A grown man, carrying grown consequences. Though one question haunted me the entire runtime, this unemployed ghost of a person has a cutting-edge phone, multiple monitors, and a custom AI. On what salary, my guy? Is Spider-Man doing crypto? Somebody check. The opening montage shows him dismantling a rogues gallery, Tombstone, Boomerang, Tarantula, Scorpion, and here's your first treat. These fights recreate legendary comic covers almost frame for frame. The Tarantula ship fight mirrors Amazing Spider-Man 134. The Boomerang dodge pulls from issue 345. Scorpion's brawl nods to issue 318. And there's even a shot built like Amazing Fantasy 15, the 1962 cover where Spider-Man debuted. One of the most famous images in comic history. Oh, and Tombstone here is played by Marvin Jones III, the same man who voiced Tombstone in Into the Spider-Verse. Casting with love. And notice something else. This Spider-Man works with the police. He's got a genuine partnership going with Detective DeWolf, pulled straight from the comics, and the city adores him. Toby got hunted by newspapers, Andrew got hunted by actual police cruisers, and this guy gets waved at by cops. A completely different flavor of Spider-Man, and honestly, it's refreshing. Then a tank ruins everything. One night, an armored vehicle goes berserk through the city, heading straight for a damage control facility. Spider-Man tries everything to stop it, and along the way runs into a certain gentleman with a skull on his chest, Frank Castle, the Punisher. Fun fact for the new folks, the Punisher literally debuted in Amazing Spider-Man issue 129 back in 1974, hired to take down Spider-Man, so watching these two share a screen is a 50-year full-circle moment. Anyway, the tank breaches the building, Peter rips open the hatch, and the driver is an elderly woman, confused, terrified, no memory of driving, someone was inside her head, and then that someone jumps, to a soldier, to damage control staff, hopping mind to mind, like a ghost changing outfits, ultimately springing Scorpion loose from a transport helicopter. Peter can punch this thing, he just can't see it. How do you fight what you can't see? This attack drags Peter into the orbit of damage control, and its director William Metzger. Comic readers, start sweating now, because Metzger comes from the 1993 X-Men miniseries, Children of the Atom, where he's a professional anti-mutant agitator. The movie casts him as a calm, reasonable public servant, asking Spider-Man for help hunting this telepathic threat. Keep both eyes on this man. Meanwhile, Peter's body declares war on him. Here's where the film gets genuinely unsettling. Peter sees MJ with a new boyfriend, and that emotional gut punch, combined with the telepath poking at his mind, triggers something dormant in his blood. His spider DNA wakes up. He convulses on the floor at night, senses cranked to unbearable levels, fingers crushing porcelain, dark veins crawling under his skin, and then, wait for it, organic webbing bursts from his wrists. Toby style, no cartridges, except completely out of control, spraying web all over his apartment like a haunted glue factory. The nerds in the audience know exactly what this is pulling from. The Six-Arm Saga, The Other, the whole man-spider nightmare from the comics and the 90s cartoon, the terrifying idea that the spider half might eventually eat the man half. Desperate, Peter visits the one person on Earth who understands sharing a body with a monster, Bruce Banner, now teaching at Empire State University. There's a gem in this lecture hall. A student named Cindy asks why Thanos didn't just double the resources instead, which is both every YouTube comment ever, and, if you know your comics, a wink at Cindy Moon, the future hero called Silk. Banner helps Peter design an inhibitor chip to suppress the mutation, while warning him that caging your own nature never ends well, and the man would know. And this is the film's smartest trick, hidden in plain sight. Punisher and Banner are the two roads in front of Peter. Frank surrendered to his darkness and lives there full time. Bruce chains his up and pays rent on it daily. Peter's standing at that exact crossroads, deciding which man he becomes. That's not subtext, that's the whole movie. Quick pit stop, if you've made it this far, drop a like, it genuinely helps this channel more than you know, and tell me in the comments, organic webs or web shooters, which side are you on? Okay, back to the chaos. The telepath gets personal. Peter figures out the mind jumper needs to be within a certain range of its next body, and traps it in a webbed-up helicopter, clever boy, but the entity retaliates by going after the one person Peter can't afford to lose, MJ, and this scene is genuinely cold-blooded. Wearing MJ like a costume, the telepath pretends to remember Peter, kisses him, watches the hope bloom on his face, and then lets MJ drop from a rooftop, a deliberate, chilling echo of Gwen Stacy's fall from the comics. Peter catches her, barely, but the message lands. Nobody around him is safe. He hides MJ in the safest place he knows, which is apparently a boat belonging to a heavily armed man with anger issues. Bold childcare choices, Peter. And on Frank's boat, digging through files with MJ's help, they finally put a face and a name to the ghost. And here is where everything you clicked this video for begins. The telepath is a young woman named Jean. Full name, Jean Elaine Grey. Yes, the Jean Grey. One of the most important X-Men in history, introduced here not through some multiverse portal, but as a mutant born inside this universe. And her story shatters your heart. Flashbacks reveal her mother abandoned Jean and her older sister Sarah when their powers surfaced. Damage control captured Sarah, and Sarah used her final free moment to psychically push her little sister to run. Deep cut alert. Sarah Grey is real Marvel canon, first appearing in Uncanny X-Men 136 back in 1980. For years, Jean has been hunting one clue, the last thing Sarah ever sent into her mind, a phrase, VMAX. Every attack, every hijacked mind, every breached facility, it was all a little sister searching for where they're keeping her only family. She was never the monster, she was the victim, tearing the world apart to find the person she loves. So who's the actual villain? The polite man in the suit. Metzger's damage control, the harmless cleanup crew Tony Stark once founded, has quietly mutated into something rotten, an organization that captures gifted people and experiments on them, and they spent years strapped to Sarah, trying to copy telepathy into a machine. Worse, remember the Hand, the ninja clan from the Daredevil era? They work for damage control now, controlled by that stolen brainwave technology, government-issued mind-controlled ninjas, and when Peter asks Metzger about the name Sarah, the man looks him dead in the eye and lies. That's the moment Peter realizes he's been the weapon in the wrong hand this entire film. But first, tragedy. Jean possesses Banner mid-crisis, his inhibitor shatters, and out comes not friendly Professor Hulk but the Savage Hulk, the original rage monster, back on screen after years, and the tower fight that follows is easily the best action in the movie, shot dark and terrifying like the beast he's supposed to be. Meanwhile, Frank keeps unloading entire magazines into the Hulk, which does absolutely nothing, and I choose to believe that's an intentional joke. Peter manages to plant the chip on Jean, her powers cut out, and damage control takes her away. Victory, right? Except in her cell, Jean looks up, and on the ceiling vent above her, the logo reads Vents Max. Read it fast, missing letters and all, and it becomes VMAX. Her sister wasn't sending her a code name, she was describing the last thing she could see from inside that same room. Sarah had been held right there, all those years, and by the time Jean found the truth, her sister was already gone. That reveal hit the entire theater like a freight train, pure Star Trek Vader energy, and I mean that as the highest compliment. The ending, grab something. Betrayed and broken, Jean's grief detonates her powers to their full Omega level, and yes, comic fans, Jean is Omega class even without the Phoenix, which this movie wisely saves for the future. She freezes an entire kilometer of New York in place, thousands of people, statue still, while she walks toward Metzger for revenge. Peter fights through the mind-controlled hand to reach her, discovers damage control-built weapons designed specifically to stop him, rips off his own inhibitor chip, and fully accepts both halves of himself, and the sequence that follows, slow-motion web combat straight out of the video games, might be the most beautiful Spider-Man action ever filmed. Camera work included, no notes, chef's kiss. But he doesn't beat Jean with fists. He does something braver. He lets her into his mind, and we get the scene nobody saw coming. Marisa Tomei, back as Aunt May, in brand new footage set, right after Homecoming, gently telling Peter that the people who love him love Peter, not the powers, not the mask, the person. Except Jean experiences the memory from inside, and suddenly May is talking to her. A girl who has read 1,000 minds gets to feel one for the first time. It's the great power speech without the famous words, delivered as pure motherly warmth, and it saves the day better than any punch in this franchise ever has. Aunt May retired for years, still carrying this entire series. Legendary. And then Frank Castle, who heard none of this, decides the math is simple. One dangerous telepath versus a frozen city, and pulls a sniper trigger. Peter senses it and takes the bullet meant for Jean. The shot of Frank carrying a wounded Spider-Man to the hospital is lifted directly from the iconic Civil War comic cover, and the movie earns it. Jean keeps Peter alive with her telekinesis the whole way, holding his body together through sheer will. And here's the wild stat: this movie ends with 0 deaths. Every villain gets captured alive, because Peter refused to let anyone cross that line. Every villain except one. Metzger slips away in the chaos, stealing Peter's power suppression tech on the way out, and X-Men fans just felt a chill, because suppression collars have a very ugly future in this universe. The goodbyes. Peter wakes up surrounded by a city that showed up for him, thousands outside the hospital, and there's a beautiful crowd shot where one fan wears a mask modeled on the 1970s Nicholas Hammond TV Spider-Man. Deep respect for whoever snuck that in. Jean boards a bus heading upstate, and if the word Westchester means anything to you, then it's obvious whose school is waiting up that road. Banner, sadly, gets committed to a psychiatric facility, while the world wonders why the gentle professor snapped. Genuinely heartbreaking. Ned gets his handshake moment. The old secret handshake fires off pure muscle memory, and something clicks behind his eyes, and MJ ends the film on their old rooftop, holding the necklace, not remembering, but feeling the shape of something missing. Now, my honest verdict, and remember, all opinion, this is comfortably Tom Holland's best Spider-Man film. The tone, the maturity, the struggle, the references, it's a version of Spider-Man we've simply never had on screen. That said, reopening the MJ and Ned thread felt like unripping a bandage we all cried over, and Doctor Strange's cosmic spell losing to a handshake is, let's be honest, a choice. The film also never commits to one true villain. Frank got noticeably softer than his own shows. Hi, hospital scene, still adore you, and a few effects shots wobble. Oh, and the post-credit scene, Ned's Spidey tracker app pinging a second Spider-Man signal somewhere out in deep space, teasing cosmic events and, if the theories are right, maybe a very familiar face from another universe. Cool concept, slightly underwhelming execution, but none of it sinks the ship. This one's special. So here's what Brand New Day really is. It's a movie about a kid who gave up everything, learning that being alone was never the sacrifice, it was the wound. Peter starts this story whispering his own name into empty rooms, and ends it surrounded by a city, a rediscovered best friend, and a new ride or die who happens to be one of the most powerful beings alive. The spider and the man finally live in the same body, and the loneliest hero in New York remembers how to let people in. So talk to me down below. Who was the real villain of this film for you? Was the ending everything you wanted, or did the post-credits leave you hungry? And where does this rank among every Spider-Man movie ever made? Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next for the webhead, because his story is only getting bigger from here. Until next time, remember what May said. They love the person, not the powers. Everything else is just the mask.